Good morning, everyone. My name is Kristin Alford and I'll be your MC for the day. I'd like to welcome you to today's Intrapreneurship Forum, and I'd especially like to welcome our speakers and to thank the organisers for putting together such a fabulous program. Just a couple of housekeeping things and a couple of acknowledgements before we start. First of all, you'll all have a program that's been provided. You can see that this morning we've got a couple of keynotes with Erma Ranieri and Susie Souza. We then, after morning tea, split into 3 separate sessions, so you'll be able to choose those sessions. I'll give you further instructions when we get there. We'll come back for to come together just before lunch, and then there are 3 parallel sessions after lunch, and we finish the day with some keynotes. So we're in and out of the 3 rooms that we are in all day, and there are plenty of people to provide you instructions about where to go. And I think the depth of the program and the variety on offer is really spectacular. So congratulations to everybody for putting it all together. I wish to acknowledge IPAA professional and corporate members, IPAA counsellors and IPAA partners. That includes PwC, Wellman's Lawyers and Flinders University. I'm the Director of MOD at University of South Australia, and so I'm here with the support of the University of South Australia. And I'm here because I'm personally interested in innovation, and I'm personally interested in how we create change. This is the 3rd year that this Intrapreneurship Forum has been run. And I think what's really interesting looking at the program and looking at the involvement of people is that this is now not a new conversation. We're not asking how to do this. We're actually in the 2nd or 3rd round, if you like, of looking at how we're actually achieving change within the public sector, but also how we're responding to change that's happening very rapidly around us in that context. Can I just, whose forum is the first? Who's attending this event for the first time? Wow, that's fantastic. And who's been to previous forums? And all 3 forums? Okay, so that's really interesting as well. So we have a whole lot of people who are coming to this forum new to share some of those ideas that have happened over the last year. And I'd urge you all to connect with members of the community of practice that you'll hear a bit more from. Because I think the really key part for me, at least, of creating change in the work that I'm doing at UniSA, but in the work that you're doing in the public sector, is creating networks of people who are able to help you solve problems when you get to them. And so the networking function of this forum particularly is terribly useful. Okay, some housekeeping items. Just a reminder to keep your phones on silent, but there are hashtags if you'd like to tweet or share information throughout the day, and those are on the back of your program. Intra 2017 is the key one for this forum, and this forum is part of Entrepreneurship Week. There are toilets in the building, well signed. If there's an emergency and we need to evacuate, the staff will take us out, so follow the lead of the staff. What we ask is that if you need to leave during the day, to try and do that not during the presentation but in the breaks, just to minimise the disturbance to your fellow audience members. And when we come back into this room, either for these plenary sessions today and in the afternoon, or for the joint sessions, just come back to your allocated table, and then we know that people aren't scrambling to try and find things that they've left or trying to find a seat. If you've parked here, there is also an ability to validate your parking ticket, so you can see the registration desk for assistance with that. That takes care of all the housekeeping, and if you have any questions during the day about the Intrapreneurship community of practice or about the events for the day, you can see people at the registration desk or flag one of us down. So to commence our event formally, I'd like to introduce Katrina Power, and Katrina will welcome us to country. Welcome, Katrina.
Kama mi tama mo nankada naachali, kaono, napadla, yakana yunga, namani badni tandanyanga, bimbimbalya, bukiana Ghana, noinari karanya, Katrina Galabina. Grandmothers, grandfathers, mothers, fathers, aunties, uncles, sisters and brothers. Today we come to sit and stand as the Ghana do on sacred Ghana land, stolen Ghana land, land that has never been surrendered. We pay our respects to all the Ghana that were, all the Ghana that are, and all the Ghana that will be. We pay our respects to all our elders, black and white. I want to tell you this story in terms of, I think Aboriginal Australians are the original entrepreneurs. The collective is much more important than the individual, and there's no doubt about that. I want to tell you a story of how much it hurts me to hear constant talk about the burden of the ageing population. Now, without the old fellas, and they are a gift to us, we are all born apprentices from the moment we are born, and we die apprentices. And the minute that any of us think that we know it all, we really don't know that much. So I really want to address the issue and get my message across that elders are to be respected, and that as entrepreneurs and intrapreneurs, you don't have to be old to be a leader. And that's one of the things I'm really glad about as an Aboriginal Australian and the practices that we have, that the young fellas sit with the old fellas. And I'll give you an example. When I was 5 years old, Don Dunstan came to my Nana and Papa's house at Angle Park, which is considered the ghetto of Adelaide, but I think it's the most sacred place ever. And he came round and my papa said, you just sit there and don't say a word. You just watch, right? So there's all these men and a couple of women, and straight away, I'm getting a sense that these women are powerful. And what it actually did was it told me that women are equal to men, and in that way, Aboriginal Australians are way ahead in terms of gender equity. But anyway, my papa said, don't you say a word, and you just sit there and watch. And he said, after the meeting finished and Dunstan left, he said, whatever you do when you grow up, if ever a white man says a word to you that you don't understand, you ask that white man to explain it. That makes you smart, not silly, not dumb. That was the best advice I ever got from a spiritual entrepreneur in my whole life. So I really want to make those points. And I'm really grateful that I'm here because I didn't even know what entrepreneurship meant. So now I know. And I want to say, I am unapologetic. I think I've been an agent for change. I think I took on the Australian Defence Forces and made a statement about terra nullius needs to be left alone. And as women, we have another role. We are the mothers of these children. But I want to say that I believe in you. I think this is really exciting. I'm sorry I can't stay here with you. I have to go with Aboriginal prisoners today. And I'll make this point, it's National Aboriginals Week. And I know Joel Bayliss is here, one really great Aboriginal man. And I think all of us, no matter whatever positions we hold, we are all human beings. And we all have the same hopes and dreams for our children. And you know what? We need to do it different. Because Hawking says if we're lucky, we'll have another 100 years. I say if we're lucky, we'll get two months with Trump. But anyway, we can still do our bit to protect Aboriginal Australia from the rest of the world, and have a great conference. And thanks for being prepared to hear the message and for inviting me, as you do. I'm an Indigenous Forum attendee and I'll be promoting you everywhere I go. Thank you very much.
Good morning, everyone. My name's Carmel Williams, and I've been asked by the Community of Practice to speak a few words about the role of our group and some of the ambitions that we have for entrepreneurs across South Australia. But first of all, I want to thank Katrina so much for that lovely welcome to country. So, the Entrepreneurs Community of Practice welcomes you all today. There's actually 200 plus of you, which is just so fantastic, to the third Entrepreneurs Forum. The Community of Practice is a group of individuals from across the public sector with an interest in driving change and innovation, and who have been this past year, under the expert guidance of our friends at IPAA, to plan and bring you today's really exciting forum. The Community of Practice has been operating for the past few years to better understand the nature of entrepreneurship and what are the types and skill sets that are required to drive change across the public sector. Because unlike entrepreneurship, entrepreneurs are focused on working within systems and institutions to drive change, and our work as a community of practice has been squarely focused on how to support the role of the public sector change agent, the entrepreneur. However, I wouldn't want our community of practice to just be focused, and none of us do, on the public sector. We're also keen to learn from and foster change within other systems and other institutions, local government, the not-for-profit sector and the for-profit sector. And you'll notice when you look at today's program that we have presentations and speakers from across all of these sectors. Why are all of these sectors interested in change? That's because we're actually facing quite radical change at the moment through technology and changing societal expectations. What seems to be occurring is a blurring of the boundaries between the private, the community and the public sector. So today is about learning together and an opportunity to reflect on our experience across a range of systems to better understand the capabilities and skills required to be an entrepreneur. And just before I hand over to our Premier to speak, the Community of Practice would really like to thank all of the presenters that have joined us today who are going to be speaking. There probably won't be a time to acknowledge them later in the day. We're also really very grateful for the guidance and wisdom and support of Renee and her team at IPAA, and without them this certainly wouldn't be possible. And so really thank you all for being here. Thank you for all the presenters for giving up your time, our lovely thinker in residence, Susie Sosa, and now that's really enough from Community of Practice. I'd now like to hand over to our Premier, the Honourable Jay Weatherill, who's going to share a few words with us.
Hello everyone. South Australia is going through a period of rapid and unpredictable change. So we need to be agile, adaptable and innovative. And this applies not just to business, but also to government. In light of this fact, I think today's Intrapreneurship Forum is a real positive. It comes out of the Entrepreneurs Community of Practice, which started in South Australia 3 years ago and is only one of its kind in the country. The forum gives us a chance to share ideas, hear fresh perspectives and change the way we do government in this state. Also, it helps public servants find better ways of operating so that they can provide better services and ultimately improve people's lives. Our state always succeeds when strong government works with strong business and strong communities. I hope the forum reinforces that principle. And I hope you're able to take the insights you gather today and apply them in your specific areas of work. The Community of Practice is yet another example of the public sector being an innovator and a leader. And I look forward to seeing it foster practical change and to help our state build for the future. I wish you all the best for the forum and for the wider 2017 Entrepreneurs Week program.
What's really hit home for me already from listening to our introductory remarks are three things. The first, as Katrina said, make sure we ask questions. That makes us smarter. The second thing was to deepen these conversations. As I said, this is a maturing conversation. So make this sustainable, make it ongoing. And to value diversity in the network that we have and to realise that that makes us stronger. So with that, I want to introduce our keynote speaker, Erma Ranieri. Appointed on the 1st of July 2014, the Commissioner for Public Sector Employment, Erma Ranieri, works passionately to ensure the public sector is a trusted, respected, courageous and honest organisation, which I guess is the fourth thing, is about bringing you and yourself and your own values to the work that you do. The Commissioner holds a statutory role under the Public Sector Act of 2009, and this Act outlines principles and guidelines to improve and uphold public sector performance. So it's Erma's role to bring these aspects to life across government, and Erma is working towards creating a world-leading public sector that serves South Australians well, does what it says it will do, and to which every public servant is proud to belong. And I think my feedback from listening to several people working in global areas is that South Australia is known for this work and that we are making a difference to that global conversation as well. Erma has worked for more than 30 years to help organisations optimise productivity and employee wellbeing. She was named the 2014 Telstra Businesswoman of the Year and the SA Woman of the Telstra Community and Government Award for her role in leading transformational change throughout the sector. In her role currently overseeing the Office for the Public Sector, she's responsible for a number of sector-wide reform programs, including the Change at South Australia program. And Erma will continue to challenge cultural and structural barriers within the public sector to raise productivity and foster excellence. She is leading a cultural shift and creating a public sector that is more collaborative, innovative and connected to the community. And I'd like you to join me in welcoming her today. Thanks, Erma.
Thank you very much for that great introduction. And I always love coming to these to the Intrapreneurship forums. I've been to every one, haven't stayed for the day, but certainly I see us as a group of change agents. I want to also acknowledge Katrina in her welcome. It's really important to have the passion that Katrina showed in everything that she actually does. And welcome to South Australia, Susie. We'd like you to stay here if you can. And this is certainly a group that I feel very close and dear to. So let me just talk a little bit about innovation in the public sector. And I will talk a bit about the sort of skills that we need to actually do that. And the one thing I do want to say is, for me, it often starts with my own personal purpose. I'm a very proud public servant, and I really care about the sort of work that the public service does, as I know a lot of the people in this room do care about. But what we need to do is actually understand that when we are serving other people, that we actually have to walk in their shoes and understand what they need from the public sector, and that means that we don't do that alone. And this is why a group of the coalition of the willing, as I call it, is so important. Those of you that know me know that I'm very, very passionate about this, but it isn't easy. So innovation is at the heart of building a modern, diverse and flexible public sector. Without innovation, grounded firmly in our values, we cannot thrive as a public sector. Innovation propels us and helps us to think about and rethink the way we do things. I'd like to start by acknowledging the importance of the Intrapreneurs Community of Practice as a grassroots movement. Well done to the team, and I remember when we were starting to talk about how we would take some of the early work that we did around change at South Australia, how we're reforming the public sector, and look where we've got to now. Most of us here know firsthand the problems of working in a large bureaucracy. I was just explaining earlier what happens on a daily basis. There's too much reporting, too little change. The community of practice grew out of a deeply felt need to make that change happen. 3 years later, if the community of practice is to realise that change, then it needs executive support, not executive interference. That's why I'm here today, to give my support to not only this group, but anyone, not only in the public sector, but outside of it, that wants to help and make it a better place. I'd like to offer my leadership and, where I can, champion your efforts. And nothing's too small for us to actually work on. As I've said, as the Commissioner for Public Sector Employment, I wholeheartedly champion innovation in my office and across the public sector. And as I said, on any day, that can be very, very difficult. Today I'm going to share with you a few initiatives from my office, which I think speak directly to the aims of this group. 2 of these initiatives, the 90-day change projects and the Innovation Lab, will be discussed this afternoon and this morning at various sessions. A 3rd initiative is designed for each and every one of you as leaders in the public sector, and that is the new South Australian Leadership Academy. I'll talk a bit about why that's important. By way of background, the South Australian Executive Service was established 10 years ago in 2007. So I've been working on this for a while. The aims of the Executive Service was actually to create exactly what you're doing, and that is to be mobile, to be highly skilled executive cohort who understands government no matter where you sit, and the whole of the public sector, not only in your small bit, not simply patch protection, but more for the good of the whole. This challenge still hasn't been addressed. Too many of us, or our executives, more than half, have no experience working beyond a single department. I firmly believe that we build the best leaders through collaboration. The people in this room should be the executives of tomorrow, if you're not already, the ones today, precisely because you're willing to challenge workplace silos as a business as usual premise. I honestly believe there is a way to harness innovation and embrace big and bold thinking, a way for people to start their own path through innovation. I'm a case in point. The South Australian Leadership Academy is a new pilot initiative to develop, connect and inspire leaders to collectively deliver great results for South Australia. It will enable innovation and higher impact development through a sector-wide, integrated, contemporary approach to leadership. Collaboration will be at the heart of it, and it will drive innovation. The Academy will provide experiential learning and greater focus on innovation, public value, collaboration, and most importantly, is dealing with the complexity. Its programs are for people who learn quickly, think differently, see things that others don't, and are prepared to act. Participants will hear from experts in the innovation and adaptive leadership space from all over the world, and will be required to look for innovation on contemporary government priority issues, whilst using some new and innovative means for problem solving. I believe that this actually starts with self-identification. If you don't believe it about yourself, then no one else will. If you're part of the Leadership Academy, you'll need to learn and adapt quickly, and you better enjoy a challenge. And let me offer you this story as an aside. I didn't think of the Leadership Academy a month or two ago. It's actually been one of the most deeply held personal and professional ambitions that I've had. It was based on a report I wrote with a handful of executives nearly 10 years ago. I was very young at the time. As part of an action team that was run by what was then known as the Public Sector Performance Commission. So don't lose heart, these things take time. And at the time, the Premier was the Minister for the public sector. So we've actually had this ambition for a long time. But like any public servant, you always like to see that the work that you've done goes somewhere. I'm happy to say that even 10 years ago, when we were thinking of this, we're finally seeing the fruits of our labour. The recommendations of that report were not adopted at the time. Why is that? And I know you all have your own stories. It's not because we weren't keen as a sector to embrace them, but we found it difficult to work within the institution. The things that it was asking us to do was to get out of our silos and mobilise. We weren't prepared for that. Who would coordinate it? Who would lead it? Which department was responsible? But I always kept that report close by, and those people that work with me know I repeat it over and over again. I want people to be recognised, I guess, for the ideas that came from when Katrina talked about the elders, people that have thought of this, who basically said, I know what can happen, but no one listened to me. And I never gave up on the idea. Resilience and never giving up, even if it is years later, satisfies me. And it's about doing something positive and making a difference for the longer term. So let this be a takeaway message. Get involved with the reform program, whatever it is. Challenge yourself, believe in your passion, and refuse to give up. Your time will come. When you think about innovation in the public sector, you can't bypass the 90-day change projects and Change at South Australia. Yes, we've had our fair share of some negativity, but we still go. Because the 90-day change projects have been running since 2012. And in fact, soon after, I think we started the Intrapreneurship and other groups that were forming. Originally, it was conceived as a 12-month program. And here we are, 5 years later, still working, still getting results, and often, as I say, working under the radar, because that's where the best and most exciting work actually happens. Let me tell you, not only are we still working, we're ramping it up. We're recruiting new people to bring the projects to fruition, and you'll be able to hear from one of our new team members today, Alex Williams, about that. But it's not just people within the public sector. Partners should include people from community, from not-for-profits, from business. We should be working in partnership. It's not just about the public service collaborating, it's everyone. What I like so much about this program is the way it harnesses organisations and units from across government to build value together. You find those champions. You're mostly in this room. We've got 79 projects that have been successfully completed and delivered through the Change at South Australia. There have been over 160 ideas brought to the 90-day team for consideration and consultancy, and a lot of those have not been necessarily from public servants. They come from everywhere. Over 4 years of consistent delivery through a regularly refined and evolving 90-day process. More than 2,500 business and community members directly consulted as part of the 90-day projects. In the 90-day change projects, we actually get a chance to see how programs like Better Together, Digital by Default, Reforming Democracy, Change at South Australia, when combined with good project and change management, can absolutely drive services at the ground level and make a difference to people's lives, which we have. It can even save lives. And the Multi-Agency Protection Service program was one that I'd like to hold out as a champion around saving lives. Most importantly, these are projects that really matter to South Australians. But we want to build on that momentum. So there's some exciting things we'll be talking about today. We've been working with the Australian Centre for Social Innovation to build a public sector innovation lab in South Australia. You can hear from Taxi today, and I'm really excited about what we're developing together. I want this to be an open space where people come together from across all sectors and professions. And space is actually important because we value so much, I guess, the institution of government. It's a space where you don't belong to a particular agency, you're there to solve a problem. It will be a place where real innovation, work founded in rigorous design, experimentation, risk, evaluation and evidence will come to lie. The Innovation Lab will be about building projects from the ground up. It's about learning into those really complex problems, or leaning in to the complex problems for which there is no single solution. And in fact, every day we're faced with those. The lab will be for people who have the courage and tenacity to stand up for change, people who take the lead because they have the ideas and that they have the passion. I think this will be as exciting as the galvanising as the 90-day projects and a perfect complement to that program of work. So to finish, with this community of practice and this forum, you've shown your capacity to lead and collaborate. And I really thank you for that, because I know a lot of you have been on the journey together with me from the beginning. The lesson I've learned and the learning I build into the programs in my office is that the path of least resistance is often the path of least value. You will have to build a new path through new terrain. Travel always with the public sector values. Travel with courage, travel with tenacity, professionalism and integrity. It isn't easy, but is essential, and if you do so, you will always have my support. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Erma. It's really good to hear about the breadth of initiatives that have started and are continuing. And I love what you said about things happening under the radar, because that's where the interesting work happens. And I think that's true for a lot of us working to try and change things, that a lot of the work happens under the radar. And today is really a chance for us to see it, make it visible, celebrate it, and to use it as inspiration for other things. The other thing that resonated with me from that talk was around the 10-year time frame. Only because I'm about to launch something which started with an experience I had 10 years ago, and I thought, wow, that's an interesting idea. I wonder how I can use it. And 10 years later, we're just about to launch a call out for an exhibition on the idea about waging peace. So it's taken 10 years. And I think there's something in there which is around the ideas that you might gather today about what you can do differently might not have a home just yet, but don't discard them. Keep that spark. Somewhere you'll be able to persist with them. You'll find something else that combines with them, and the timing will be right to push it forward. And then with the discipline of project management and the support of peers, you'll get it through. So I'm taking heart that that 10-year time frame is appropriate. That creativity does take time. And so to, I guess encourage you to use the time that you've got today to add some sparks to the bundle of ideas that you might need to draw on in the future. And the final thing that I took from your talk, Erma, was that this journey we're on is not a roadmap. It's not nicely lined out where you can pick up your Google Maps or your Melways and say this is the way it's gonna happen. You're really in a jungle. You're going to have to gather a group of buddies and a pack of supplies with compasses and probably a couple of axes to get yourself through some of that terrain. But that's where the adventure is. That's where the excitement is. And I'd encourage you to work out what you need to go on your own journey, who you need to take with you, and what sort of support you need to persist. Because it is hard work, but that's where the reward is. So thank you very much, Erma, for setting us up so nicely. I'd now like to introduce our second keynote speaker, Susie Souza. And Susie's here because the Don Dunstan Foundation is proud to have relaunched the highly successful Thinkers in Residence program, which attracts experts from around the world to share their knowledge, their skills and their creative ideas to inspire action in the community, government, industry and academia across all of those silos we've just mentioned to address some of the significant challenges our community faces. And the current focus of the Thinkers in Residence program is on social capital. And so the aim of the social capital residencies is to grow jobs in the social economy by doing good better. Following on from the successful visit of our primary thinker in residence, Alison Hewitt, Senior Fellow for Social Innovation at the highly successful Mars Discovery District in Toronto, and some of you will have heard Alison speak at various events, we're really excited to have Susie Souza here with us. Susie is the co-founder and Chief Executive Officer of Verb, a global corporation specialising in social innovation. So Verb produces global social impact competitions like the MetLife Inclusion Plus Challenge, and also offers an online leadership training platform that turns corporate employees into purpose-driven leaders. Previously, Susie created and led the Social Entrepreneurship Program at the University of Texas in Austin, where she also ran the Dell Social Innovation Challenge, which was the largest student social entrepreneurship challenge in the world. And this engaged more than 25,000 student social entrepreneurs from 100 different countries. Susie has been in the startup and entrepreneurship space for over 15 years, co-founded several Austin nonprofits focused on social innovation and entrepreneurship, and in 2014 was awarded the Ernst & Young Social Entrepreneur of the Year. So I'd like you to join me in welcoming Susie to speak with us. Thank you, Susie.